Thank you for your generous, faithful giving to share the love of Jesus in Rwanda. Good stuff rarely makes the news. The top stories are disease outbreaks, political scandals, shark attacks, terrorist events, and wars.
From a great white in South Africa that smiled for the camera and a spear fisherman in Florida who fought off multiple bull sharks, here are 10 terrifying shark attacks caught on camera.
Russia is launching another wave of intense strikes across Ukraine.
American political history is peppered with scandals that have rocked the nation to its core.
Unfortunately, we've seen the first death from the measles outbreak that's been going on in West Texas and a neighboring county in New Mexico.
It's not just the news. Over 90% of movies feature some kind of enemy because conflict grabs your attention. Perhaps you've encountered an Arkansas Razorback fan. I've heard them call the Hogs in stadiums, hotels, even airplanes. From time to time, they have something to cheer for. Now, hold on. Anytime I say something a little sideways, I get a whole bunch of emails. Don't email me. I'm aware we've got an amazing track and field program, maybe the best in the country. We have a basketball team that made it to the Sweet 16. We've got a great baseball team. But it has been a while since the Razorbacks have had a great football team. But in Arkansas, the football season isn't judged a success based on the win-loss record. It's a good season if one thing happens. If the Hogs beat LSU. The Razorbacks can go 1-10, but if they spank the Tigers, it's a good season and the coach gets a raise. If you're a Razorback fan, the LSU Tigers are your sworn enemy. For years, it was the Texas Longhorns, and then we left their conference, and now they're back in our conference, so now we have not one, but two enemies. Today, I'm not talking about the sports page or the front page. I want to make it a little more personal. Who's your enemy? What name popped in your mind when you saw the title of the message? Whose face did you see? Is it your ex-spouse? Is it the person who walked away when you needed them most? Your boss or coworker who makes you miserable? Is it a family member who betrayed your trust? Is it the ex-friend who tells vicious lies and spreads gossip, or is it the naive person who listens to your ex-friend and actually believes them? Is it the person who hurt someone you love and you can't let it go? Who's your enemy? I want you to write their name on the top of your outline. If they're sitting next to you, write it in secret code. For some of you, the question could be asked a little different. What is your enemy? Your enemy might be a circumstance or situation that threatens, sickness or disease, bills you can't pay, an addiction or a habit you can't overcome, depression you can't seem to kick. Could be lust, fear, anxiety, worry, fatigue. What is your enemy? Again, go ahead. If your enemy is not a person but a circumstance or situation, write that on the top of your page. I thought about having you write your plan for your enemy, how you're going to get even and win, but I realized there's probably enough room or time for you to write it all down. Because let's be honest, there's something in all of us that loves to plot and scheme when it comes to our enemies. When things go wrong and you feel under attack, your focus shifts. You start thinking about how to win, how to get even, how to fight back. You become enemy-focused instead of mission-focused, purpose-focused, growth-focused, or God-focused. Last week, we looked at a crisis for the Israelites, as after an amazing display of God's power, Pharaoh finally let them leave captivity in Egypt. They hadn't gone far when Pharaoh changed his mind, and he sent the most powerful army in the world after them. The Israelites had a problem. Even though they knew God had delivered them from Egypt, even though they knew God was with him, they lost sight of him, and instead they began to focus on their enemies. They were afraid of the Egyptian army, and so they began to attack Moses. How dare he bring them out of Egypt to face this? They completely forgot God's power. They forgot that the same God who delivered them from captivity was still with them. It happens. You focus on your enemies instead of on your God. It's easy to do. After all, they're after you, and the situation looks impossible. When you're enemy focused, it dominates your conversation. Your conversations are filled with blame and accusation. You make sure everyone knows about your enemy. Your social media is filled with posts and videos about what they've done, how bad they are. How do you know if you're enemy focused? If you can clearly articulate what you're against, but you just struggle to describe what you're for, you're enemy focused. If you feel invigorated and validated by your enemy's failures or suffering, if you troll or scroll for more reasons to despise them, if you spend more energy identifying problems than creating solutions, you're enemy focused. When you're enemy focused, you look for people to get on your side, forgetting that God is on your side. Often, that's the root of gossip. I want to tell you about someone so you can hate them as much as me. Come join me and hate my enemy together. If you're in a relationship or an organization that's built around mutual hatred, get out while you can. Because when their target of bitterness is defeated, they will start looking for another target, and it might be you. When you're enemy focused, you plan revenge. You want to get even with your ex-wife or your ex-husband. You've got a plan to get even with your boss or coworker, that pastor or your ex-friend. You've even heard people say it this way: I don't get mad, I get even. What a sad, sad confession. Years ago, I was working with a student who had an unforgettable way of dealing with her enemy. She wrote his name on a page in her notebook and then attacked that page with a sharp pencil. Not just once, but every folder, every notebook, even her textbooks were filled with demolished pages. She was imagining revenge. Revenge strategies are so foolish, like sending anonymous letters. That'll get them. I figured out a long time ago, there's no need to read anonymous letters. If you don't know who it's from, who cares what they say? It's manipulative, insecure, immature cowards send anonymous letters. So if you won't sign it, I won't read it. That just makes sense. When you're enemy focused, you shift the focus of your prayers. If you can't get revenge, you tell God how he needs to handle it. And you make it sound spiritual. God, pay them back for what they've done to me. God, let them suffer double what I'm suffering. God, make them lose everything and know it's because they targeted me. Lord, strike them with a lightning bolt. I know I can't ask you to kill them, but you could come really, really close. Lord, make them regret coming against me. Your prayer is, come on, God, don't you see what's happening here? Get them now. I'm under attack. I can't take it anymore. The Israelites were in deep trouble. Egyptian army behind them and the Red Sea in front of them. The Red Sea is not a little lake. The spot they were at, historians believe it was 7 to 12 miles wide. Israelites had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. They were going to be slaughtered. In their desperate situation, the Israelites fell prey to the same thing you struggle with. They lost their God focus and began to focus on their enemy. Imagine you're playing basketball. It's a close game. You're following the game plan. You're winning. You're the star. And then something happens. The other team has a big-time trash talker. He's been just yapping all game. But finally he says something that makes you mad. And now you're playing angry. You're not focused on the game plan, your coach, even your teammates. Your goal has shifted, and you're going to show that trash talker what you got. Before you know it, the game is over, and you lost because you switched your focus. You lost sight of what mattered most, winning. That was the trash talker's goal, to get you focused on him so you would get emotional, angry, and make bad decisions. That's how the enemy works. If he can't destroy you, he tries to distract you. He doesn't have to keep knocking you down. All he has to do is make you switch your focus. His goal is to convince you to focus on the noise. He'll go big. He'll be distracting. He'll be like, look at me, look at me. Don't focus on God. Don't focus on his plan. Look at me. I'm going to get you. I'm going to destroy you. And too often, it works. You take your eyes off of Jesus and instead focus on your adversary. When you do, you move further and further from the one who can truly save you. That's what the Israelites did. All they could think about was their enemy. God, thank you for that Egypt thing, but we got a problem. We're under attack and there's no way out. Look at that army. Look at those weapons. We're going to be totally destroyed. God, you have let us down. Their focus was completely messed up, but in spite of their foolishness and their ignorance, God still had a plan. Do you remember God's response to the Israelites when they cried out in fear? In case you missed last week, I'll kind of go back over it for you. First, God said, what attack? God looks at your enemies and he says, oh, that's what you're worried about? You need to relax, because I'm God, I can handle that. Then God said, keep going. Do what I told you to do. Obey my command. Stay on mission. Keep doing the right thing. Keep walking forward. And then finally God said, I've got a plan for your enemies, and by the way, I don't need your help. Just keep moving forward in obedience, and then watch this. And watch what I'm about to do. God didn't tell them to stop at the Red Sea, turn and fight. Instead, God said, the miracle's not behind you, the miracle's in front of you. Take your eyes off the enemy, look ahead, keep moving, watch the impossible happen. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea. All that night, all night long, the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided. The Israelites went through the sea on dry ground with a wall of water on their right and a wall of water on their left. That's not what the Israelites expected. Instead of God sending a lightning bolt and frying the Egyptians behind them, God opened up the Red Sea in front of them. The Israelites were so focused on the Egyptians that they forgot the miracle-working power of their God, the same God who had brought them out of Egypt and was leading them through the wilderness to the promised land. When you get enemy-focused, you forget the miracle-working power of the God you serve. Time and again, God proves nothing is impossible with God. God can break chains of addiction, restore broken relationships, heal hurting hearts, cure disease, supply financial needs, give you supernatural rest and peace. Nothing's impossible with God. Your miracle may be right in front of you. I know it looks impossible, like there's no way out, but God specializes in the impossible. God will make a way when there doesn't seem to be any way, any chance, or any hope. If you take your eyes off your enemy, you'll be able to see the power of your God already at work. The Egyptians, verse 23, pursued them. All Pharaoh's horses and chariots and horsemen followed them into the sea. The Red Sea opened for the Israelites, but it also opened for the Egyptians, who charged them after them. Now, you know what I think? I can't prove this because they're not around to ask. I think the Egyptians didn't recognize it as a miracle. Remember, these are the same foolish Egyptians who didn't give up when God sent frogs, gnats, flies, hail, locusts, darkness. They were not the brightest bunch. They must have thought, wow, you Israelites are so lucky. I can't believe that wind started blowing just at the right time. Or maybe they did recognize it as a miracle, but they didn't care. Your God may be opening the sea for you, but we're still going to wipe you out. Go ahead and celebrate, because here we come. There's a lesson in this part of the story. Just because you're experiencing a miracle, don't automatically expect your enemies to give up. They're not smart enough to give up. They want you to stay focused on them instead of the God you serve. They'll keep coming. I've learned to expect it. When we experience a great victory as a church, it's usually followed by an attack. Satan attacks after victories. He wants to distract and discourage you. He wants you to take your eyes off the miracle in front of you and put them on the enemy behind you. There are two important truths in this story. Number one, God has a plan for your life. Number two, God has a plan for your enemies. And in both cases, his plan is better than your plan. His plan for your life is better than your plan for your life. His plan for your enemies is better than your plan for the enemies. That whole thing you've got figured out, how you're going to send anonymous letters and Facebook posts and all that stuff to get even, if you'll just shut up, back off, and get quiet, God will work his plan. So sometimes you got to abandon your plan in order for God's plan to happen. As we look through the rest of this story, you'll discover God's plan for the Egyptians and God's plan for your enemy. Now we get to the part of the story you're really going to like. Verse 24, during the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud of the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. The Egyptians' task was pretty simple. If the Israelites are that way, there's about 1 million of them. They've got their wives and their kids and their cattle and their stuff. They're right there. Chase them and destroy them. There's really nothing confusing about that. We don't know all the details, but God somehow confused the Egyptian. It's the first part of God's plan for your enemy. God will confuse your enemy. People who attack you will do the dumbest things. They will say and post things that make no sense. Their words and actions will defy all logic. Your enemy may be chasing after you, but you've got a huge advantage. God is giving you wisdom while he confuses your enemy. Verse 25, he made the wheels of their chariots come off, so they had difficulty driving. The Israelites were walking through the dry land of the Red Sea, surrounded by walls of water. They didn't have chariots. They didn't have wagons. They weren't very intimidating. Remember, they'd been slaves for years. The Egyptians had all the might, all the strength, all the weapons. They weren't walking. They were roaring after the Israelites in their chariots when all of a sudden the wheels of the chariots came off. And in a classic case of Bible understatement, it says the wheels came off, so they had difficulty driving. Oh, really? Difficulty when the wheels came off? Have you ever tried to drive a chariot with no wheels? Have you ever tried to drive a chariot? I mean, that's like saying the Titanic had a minor steering issue. Of course it was difficult to drive the chariots because the wheels were coming off. Have you ever had a blowout? You know how that goes? You're driving down the highway, you're just below the legal speed limit because you would never speed. And then all of a sudden you hear a loud noise and your car begins swerving and it's almost out of control as you go from side to side. The Egyptians didn't just have a flat tire, the wheels or coming off. Here's the lesson: God will frustrate your enemy. When they raise their hand against God's people or God's leader, things are going to go wrong. It's no coincidence. God will not allow your enemies to destroy you. He will knock the wheels off their chariots and frustrate their plans. Just when they think they've won, they will discover, uh-oh, God's got a plan. Satan had a plan to destroy Jesus. Jesus was crucified. Satan thought it was over, that he'd won. And then, just when victory seemed assured, God frustrated Satan's plan. The wheels came off. Jesus wasn't dead, he was alive. Your God is in control. He has a plan for you, and he has a plan for your enemy. He is not intimidated or afraid. His plan is to bless you and frustrate your enemy. That's what he's going to do. And suddenly, the Egyptians wised up. They said, hey, let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt. They didn't say, yeah, we got some bad chariot wheels here. Someone needs to call 7 on your side and figure this out. The Egyptians realized what was happening, and they said, we got to get out of here because the Lord is fighting for them. The Israelites weren't even fighting. They weren't throwing rocks or shooting flaming arrows. They were simply obeying God, moving forward and following his direction, and God did the fighting for them. They discovered what you need to discover. When you serve, trust, and obey, God fights for you. Your enemies will get tired of chasing you and fighting you. They will want to run and hide and give up because God will discourage their plans. Their strategies won't work. Stuff will go wrong. God will encourage you, and God will discourage your enemy. Listen to me, if you're targeting one of God's people or God's leaders, the things going wrong in your life are not a coincidence. You aren't just fighting people, you're fighting God. You need to take your hands off, and you need to get on the right side. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the seas, so the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen. Moses stretched his hand over the sea, and at daybreak the sea went back to its place. The Egyptians were fleeing towards it. The Lord swept them into the sea. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. But the Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. That day, the Lord saved Israel from the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the shore. Dead, gone, drowned, buried in the sea. Israel won the battle without ever lifting a hand to fight. The Israelites, standing on the banks of the water, saw the dead bodies of their enemies. And here it is, your favorite lesson from the story: God will destroy your enemies. You say, Pastor Rod, this is the greatest message I've ever heard. God is going to destroy my ex-husband. I'm going to get some popcorn and I'm going to watch. This is going to be awesome. God's going to destroy my boss. You better believe I'm going to keep forward. I'm moving forward. I can't wait for this. I understand your excitement, but I want to remind you, your real enemy is Satan, the enemy of your soul. The Bible tells us Satan comes to steal, to kill, and destroy. Satan's goal is to distract you, discourage you, and destroy you. He does not want you to accomplish God's purpose and plan for your life. All too often you forget that your real enemy is not that person. Your real enemy is Satan. So I want you to go back to the top of your outline where you wrote down the name of your enemy. I want you to cross out that name and simply write Satan. Now don't put an equal sign next to it. Cross it out completely, all right? Because you know how we should pray for our enemies? that God will save them and that they will respond to his love, and they'll see something in you that attracts them to the Savior you serve. Satan's your ultimate enemy. You say, well, what can I do about Satan? I am glad you asked. God has a plan for him. Let's look at Romans chapter 16. Here's what Paul wrote. I urge you, brothers, watch out for those who cause divisions, put obstacles in your way that are contrary to the teaching you've learned. Keep away from them, for such people are not serving our Lord Christ, but their own appetites. By smooth talk and flattery, they deceive the minds of naive people. Everyone has heard about your obedience, so I'm full of joy over you, but I want you to be wise about what is good and innocent about what's evil. Now here's the plan. The God of peace will soon crush Satan under your feet. God has a plan for your enemies and for your ultimate enemy, Satan. Trust his plan. All too often, an enemy focus carries over into your life as a believer. You concentrate on fighting enemies instead of following God. You spend time, energy, and emotion doing everything you can to take care of your enemy, and you neglect to simply walk in obedience to God and his commands and follow his plan. And when you do that, when that happens, the enemy wins. Some of you have spent way too much time focused on your enemies. The Israelites could have done that too. But no matter how much they ranted and raved, no matter what they posted on Facebook or told their friends about the low-down, dirty Egyptians, they were powerless to defeat them. They were not equipped to handle an enemy that size. Neither are you. So instead of focusing on your enemies, focus on God, who has a plan for your life and a plan for your enemies. Others of you have spent your whole life focusing on enemies. You're always against somebody. It's always someone's fault. You are an expert at accusation and blame. It's time to change your focus. Instead of focusing on the enemy who seems to surround you, focus on the God who says, what attack? Keep going, keep obeying, and watch. Watch what I'm going to do. You don't have to live in fear because God has a plan for your enemies. Which leads us to my final question. Whose plan is better? Your plan or God's plan? Take your focus off your problems and enemies and put it back on the God who says, I will make a way for you. When your focus is on your enemy, it just seems to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But when you turn your eyes on Jesus and your focus is on him, your enemy seems to get smaller and smaller and smaller because your enemy is no match for the God you serve.